It is easy for us to think of water as an unlimited resource. We live in a country surrounded by water, but it also comes out of our taps anytime we need it, or we can buy it in the shop. It's not the same for other countries around the world. Water is a natural, limited resource. Humans rely on water a lot. We use water for drinking, for cooking, hygiene, cleaning, in agriculture, even in transportation, healthcare, sanitation, and so much more. All animals need water to survive, and without water, life on Earth would not be possible. Earth's surface is covered by 70% of water, with only 3% of it fresh and drinkable. Of this 3%, 80% is frozen in polar ice caps and glaciers, leaving us with access to only 1% of our planet's fresh water. Fresh water is defined as water that is not salty and is suitable for consumption. As the world population grows, the water demand is becoming too high, resulting in water scarcity. Water scarcity is defined as a lack of sufficient water. In 2023, 25 countries experienced extremely high levels of water scarcity according to data from the World Resources Institute. At least 50% of the world's population live under high water stress conditions for at least 1 month of the year. Living with this level of water stress can interfere with people's lives, their jobs, food and energy security. In such a vulnerable state, even a small dry spell could be enough to cause a crisis. European countries like Spain and Italy have experienced severe droughts in the past few years, and places such as North Africa and the Middle East, which are primarily desert environments, are the two areas most affected by water shortages. Scientists agree that these sorts of dry spells are only going to get worse with climate change, so every drop counts. In our daily lives, each of us use on average 133 litres of water. This consumption is possible due to infrastructure that takes fresh water into treatment facilities and then underground pipes bring clean water into our homes. The energy required to purify and transport water accounts for as much as 5% of our total carbon footprint, which is more than 3 million tons of CO2. So even before you boil the kettle or turn on the electric shower, our water already has significant carbon footprint attached to it. Water quality is also declining in Ireland, while water pollution is rising at an unprecedented rate. At present, more than half of our rivers, lakes and estuaries are in an unhealthy state. We have lost most of our pristine river stretches, down from over 500 in the late 80s to only 20. Agriculture is by far putting the most pressure on our water environment. Agriculture expansion causes increased water pollution from the heavy use of fertilizers and slurry, causing a decline of biodiversity in rivers and the destruction of habitats as wetlands are drained to increase grass production. Another pressure that is affecting Irish water is pollution from untreated and inadequately treated sewage. Raw sewage from 35 towns and villages flows into our water every day, while wastewater treatment in 19 urban areas fails to meet minimum legal standards. The Irish government aims to protect water resources through the implementation of EU and national legislation, such as the Water Framework Directive, River Basin Management Plan, Nitrates Directive, Management of Surface Water Runoff in Urban Areas, and Water Services Act. It is clear that we need water in our daily lives, but how can we ensure that we're using it effectively and not wasting it? Let's focus our attention on assessing how much water we consume. The two things that will affect the amount of water we use are the amount of water that the tap or the shower uses per minute and how long we use it for. The water flow rate of our taps and showers is simply the speed at which water runs out and is calculated in litres per minute. Your water flow rate will directly influence how much water you consume. We can consider good practice water flow rates as 8 litres per minute in taps, 10 litres per minute in showers, and 6 litres per flush. So let me show you how to calculate your water flow rate. Calculating the water flow rate of your taps and showers is very, very easy. All you need is a bucket, a measuring jug, and maybe your phone just to have a timer. So all I'm going to do is place the bowl underneath the tap. I'm going to put 10 seconds on the clock, and I'm going to open the tap at full force for those 10 seconds. Okay, so that was 10 seconds. Now I need to calculate how much water fitted in the bowl and put it in an even surface so you can read it properly. So that is 750 centilitres of water in 10 seconds. If I calculate now with a calculator, 0.75 multiply by 6, obviously, so that we get the full minute. That's 4.5 litres of water that comes out of the tap every minute. So they're well below the good practices standards, and we don't need to do anything with it. Imagine you measure the water flow rate of your shower and it is 15 litres per minute. You have a shower every day for an average of 10 minutes per shower. This means you will use 54,000 litres of water every year just by showering. If you install an aerator on the shower head to reduce its flow to 12 litres per minute and commit to reduce your shower time to 5 minutes, you will use 21,900 litres of water per year. This is a reduction of 32,000 litres of water. So how do our taps and showers compare to those good practices standards? I would like to encourage you to measure the water flow rates of your devices and reduce your water use. But imagine if you could also bring this to your workplace or community. Even a litre per minute reduction on taps that are used by many people can have a huge effect on the amount of water we require to live our lives. Another source of water use are water leaks. Evidence of a leak might appear if the broken pipe is inside the walls of the building you're in. You might see a wet patch on the walls or the ceilings, and you can check this by just looking at your walls. However, some water leaks are not visible to the naked eye. The only way to identify if we have an underground leak is to read our water meter. Wait for a time when you know that water is not being used. Read the water meter. Wait for 30 minutes and read it again. If the numbers have changed and you're sure nobody used water in those 30 minutes, it means there is an undetected leak somewhere in the building. Some water consumption is totally hidden. Let me introduce water footprint, which refers to the estimated amount of water needed to create a product and to get it into the hands of the consumer. Let's explore some everyday items. On average, it takes 7,500 litres of water to make one pair of jeans. It takes on average 2,000 litres of water to make a hamburger. It takes on average 1,700 litres of water to make a 100-gram chocolate bar. Producing a single sheet of A4 paper requires about 10 litres of water. The fashion industry greatly impacts the environment. It not only accounts for 10% of global emissions, it is also the second largest consumer of water. This water consumption is mostly based on the use of fabrics, for example cotton, which requires large amounts of water for irrigation and treatment. Along with this, fashion is also one of the water's biggest polluters. Agriculture also requires a large amount of water, particularly when it comes to growing crops like wheat, corn, and rice. Meat also uses a large amount of water. 1/3 of the water use is going towards raising beef cattle. Another industry that is often forgotten about in terms of water use is the hospitality and tourism sector. In Ireland, the average consumption of water per overnight guest is 301 litres for hotels with swimming pools and 85 litres for hotels without swimming pools. Climate change can have significant impacts on water security, posing serious challenges to the availability, quality, and distribution of water resources. Making mindful choices in our personal lives can have a big effect in our communities and generations to come. Every drop saved and every effort made brings us closer to a world where water is abundant, accessible, and shared responsibly. There is huge power in individual action taking what you have learned today and implementing water saving measures in your home, accommodation, or workplace. So, here are some water conservation tips. Turn off the tap while brushing your teeth. This action alone could save 12 liters of water every time you brush them. While shaving, put the plug in to clean the razor rather than under a running tap. Install spray taps if you use water a lot. They can save the amount of water used by up to 70%. Take shorter showers. Don't wash your hair every day. It's actually better for your hair, and turn off the shower when putting on shampoo and conditioner. Use washing machine and dishwashers only when they're full. Don't wash dishes while the tap is running. In your garden, grow drought-resistant plants. Use water-retaining granules in pots so you don't need to water that often. And mulch your soil to keep the moisture in. As a bonus, it will keep the weeds down. Use a watering can. According to WaterWise, hose pipes can use up to 1,000 liters of water an hour. Water plants at the base of the stem rather than on the leaves, and if possible, do it early in the morning or late in the evening. Be aware of the water footprint of items, particularly in the fashion industry. When choosing a hotel, you could opt for a hotel without a swimming pool and support eco-friendly tourism operators that have water-saving practices in place. Eat more vegetables and plant-based foods instead of consuming meat. Conserving water will allow us to improve on the following Sustainable Development Goals: clean water and sanitation, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, life below water, and life on land. We have come to the end of this lesson. I would like to encourage you to complete the activities on this lesson's workbook.